The sound hit first. A hollow, metallic echo that bounced down the cul-de-sac like a warning bell. I stepped out onto the porch, coffee still steaming, and saw my son, Ben, frozen mid-ride, one sneaker dragging against the asphalt. His bike lay half-tilted on the curb, front wheel spinning, across the street. Karen Hensley, president of the Willow Ridge HOA, and self-appointed moral compass of our neighborhood, was already marching toward him, clipboard in hand. "Young man," she barked, pointing like a traffic cop. "You nearly hit my mailbox again. That's reckless endangerment." Ben blinked. I was on the other side of the street. Karen turned to me then, all pursed lips and HOA righteousness. "Mr. Latham, this is the third complaint this week. We've received reports that your son speeds through the neighborhood and disrupts the peace. Children are not exempt from community bylaws." She said reports like she ran a federal agency, not a block of 26 townhouses. I told her I'd take a look at the complaints. She nodded stiffly, scribbled something, and left a paper on our mailbox before retreating into her perfectly trimmed hedges. The notice was printed on HOA letterhead: violation of Section 8, Subsection 2, unsafe conduct of minors. Fine, $100 pending board review. I laughed, short, disbelieving. My kid was being fined for riding a bike. This was just the beginning of the war with my HOA. Subscribe to see how I use their own rules to take down the president. But that's how it started. A petty rule, a power trip, and a president who thought motherhood gave her legal authority. That evening, I reviewed our doorbell cam footage. Ben's rides were cautious, almost slow. The supposed reckless moments were just him weaving around sprinklers or loose gravel. No damage, no danger, no case. I drafted an email to the HOA board. Please provide evidence of violation. Per Section 4.2 documentation and proof. Absent proof, any fines are unenforceable. Karen replied within the hour. Evidence is based on multiple witness accounts. Behavior has been disruptive and must cease. No names, just bluster. 2 days later, another letter showed up. Failure to comply, and a threat of further disciplinary action. That's when I realized this wasn't about my kid. It was about control. So I started keeping a log. Every interaction, every date, every comment she made. I installed a secondary camera angled on the street. I kept digital backups off dash site. Then, the real twist came on a Saturday afternoon. Ben had parked his bike in our driveway, just off the curb. I was washing the car when Karen's teenage son, Ryan, came coasting down the hill on his e-scooter, earbuds in, going way too fast. He swerved, clipped the handlebar of Ben's bike, and the sound was sickening. Crack. The aluminum frame snapped clean at the joint. Ryan didn't stop. He just glanced back and laughed. Ben stood there, staring at the twisted bike that had cost him 2 summers' worth of allowance. His lower lip trembled, but he didn't cry. He just said, "She's gonna say it's my fault." He was right. By evening, I got another HOA email. Karen claimed Ben had left his property in a hazardous manner, causing her son to sustain emotional distress. She demanded we accept responsibility. That was the moment I stopped reacting and started building a case. I checked the footage. Both doorbell cameras caught it. The speed, the impact, the laughter. I clipped the files, added timestamps, and exported copies to a secure drive. Then I went through the HOA's own bylaws. Section 6.1. Homeowners are responsible for damages caused by their dependents or guests. Perfect. I highlighted it, printed it, and added a sticky note. So are you. Karen. By Monday morning, I'd filed a small claims pre-complaint form online. $2,500 for property damage and harassment. The clerk asked, "You have proof?" "Oh," I said. "I have video, correspondence, and a witness list." The next day, when Karen found the certified notice taped to her door, she stormed across my lawn again, red-faced. "You're suing me." "Over a bike," I smiled. "No, over a pattern." Her jaw twitched. "You'll regret this. Maybe." But I had a feeling she'd regret it more. Because I wasn't just going to win. I was going to make it a matter of record. The kind that follows an HOA president. Long after the clipboard's been retired, Karen tried to spin it fast. By Monday evening, a special HOA session notice appeared in everyone's mailbox. The agenda line read, "Unsafe behavior by Latham household." No mention of her son's crash. No hint of irony, just the usual attempt to weaponize bureaucracy. I didn't respond. I just prepared. That night, I set up a second angle on our driveway, a dashcam mounted discreetly on my truck. I downloaded every HOA by law into a labeled folder and printed sections 6.1 through 6.3. The sections covering liability, damages, and negligence by minors. Ben helped me label the files. He was quiet, focused. It wasn't about revenge for him. It was about being believed. When the meeting came on Wednesday, the clubhouse smelled of lemon disinfectant and power trips. Karen stood at the podium, gavel in hand, flanked by her loyal lieutenants, neighbors who'd mistaken gossip for governance. She cleared her throat. This session concerns repeated disturbances and safety violations caused by the Latham family. Specifically, their son's reckless cycling and damage to property. I didn't interrupt. I let her talk, let her dig the hole. Then she projected a grainy photo, Ben riding past her mailbox. The image was pulled from her own phone. Zoomed so far it looked like surveillance from 1983, Exhibit A. She said proudly, when she finally asked for the accused homeowner's response. I walked to the front with a flash drive. "Mine's in HD," I said. The footage played on the clubhouse TV doorbell cam, time-stamped, clear as day. Ryan, earbuds in, e-scooter flying downhill, slamming into Ben's parked bike. The snap echoed through the tinny speakers, followed by Ryan's laugh. Karen's smile cracked. Someone in the back muttered, "Wait, that's her kid." I paused the footage. Section 6.1 of the HOA bylaws states that homeowners are liable for property damage caused by dependents. "So, if my kid's a menace, what do you call this?" Silence. Then, a voice from the side, "Tom, one of the older residents. Looks like she owes you a bike, Mike." Karen fumbled with her papers. "This footage it's unauthorized. You can't film minors." I raised an eyebrow. "Doorbell footage on my own property. Public view. Time-stamped. Stored on Ring servers. Fully admissible." A few heads nodded. The tide had turned. She sputtered, "This isn't a court." "Not yet," I said. "That's Friday." I left the room with a calm nod. She stayed behind, jaw tight, whispering into her phone like she was calling backup. That night, she tried damage control. 3 emails hit my inbox, one demanding I retract the lawsuit to maintain community harmony, one accusing me of defamation, and one from her husband, awkwardly trying to mediate. I replied once. Per legal advice, further communication should go through my attorney. All messages are archived. The next morning, a new envelope appeared on my porch. A handwritten apology from Ryan. Short, sincere, maybe even genuine. "Mr. Latham, I'm sorry for the bike. My mom didn't want me to tell you." That line told me everything. I took it to my lawyer, a calm, silver-haired guy named Don Hatcher, who'd seen every HOA meltdown in the book. He chuckled after reading the letter. "Classic deflection," he said. "She thought intimidation would make you drop it. Now she's realizing paper trails work both ways." We gathered everything into one airtight evidence list, the kind that could survive both a courtroom and Karen's denial. There were the doorbell videos from 2 angles, the HOA violation letters she'd so proudly delivered, copies of her own meeting minutes that revealed her bias, Ryan's handwritten admission about the crash, and a set of HOA bylaws I'd highlighted like a final exam. Every piece told the same story. She'd built her case on rumors, and I'd built mine on proof. Chain of custody, established. On Friday morning, I showed up at County Small Claims Court, with a binder so thick it had its own table. Karen arrived with a folder and an attitude. When the clerk called our case, she opened with her usual confidence. "Your Honor, this is being blown out of proportion. Children make mistakes. My son didn't intend harm." "Judge, did he cause damage?" Karen hesitated. "Possibly, but Judge, do you dispute the video evidence?" Silence again. The footage rolled one more time, projected on the courtroom monitor. The sound of the crack filled the air. By the time it ended, She looked small. Not evil, just petty and overplayed. The judge leaned forward. This court finds the defendant's household responsible for property damage in the amount of $2,500, plus filing fees. Payment due within 30 days. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded, thanked the court, and walked out. But I knew this wasn't the end. People like Karen don't lose quietly, and I had a feeling her next move would make this story much bigger. I thought that judgment would be the end of it. Payment within 30 days. Case closed. Life goes on. But HOA presidents don't go quietly. Karen had one more move, and she played it like a soap opera cliffhanger. 3 days after the ruling, the HOA newsletter hit every doorstep. Right there on page 2. Recent legal disputes have caused tension within our community. Some residents prefer litigation over cooperation. No names, but everyone knew. In a neighborhood this small, gossip travels faster than the mailman. Neighbors started asking questions. Mike, did you really sue her over a bike? I'd just smile. No, over the principle. Then came the final twist. I noticed the HOA's online payment portal had mysteriously applied a special assessment of $125 to my account, labeled Administrative Recovery Fee, a digital attempt at retaliation. That was her last mistake. See, judgments aren't suggestions. When a court order says you owe, that debt is enforceable, and when you try to offset it through creative bookkeeping, that's tampering. I called Don, my lawyer. He laughed. She just turned a civil loss into a potential regulatory issue. Let's give her a little education. We filed a complaint with the state HOA regulatory board, attached screenshots, timestamps, and a copy of the court judgment. I even included a printout of the new assessment, complete with her electronic signature. 2 weeks later, an investigator named Ruiz, retired deputy, buzz cut, patient smile, called me for confirmation. She's not the first, he said. Power gets to their heads. We'll handle it. And handle it, he did, at the next HOA general meeting. Ruiz showed up in plain clothes, with a badge tucked just enough to flash authority. I sat in the back with a thermos of coffee. Ben sat beside me, pretending to do homework but listening intently. Karen opened the meeting with her usual performative tone. Before we begin, Ruiz stood. Before you begin, Ms. Hensley, I have some questions about unauthorized assessments and financial practices under your authority. The room went still. Papers stopped rustling. A few neighbors glanced at each other like they'd stumbled into an episode of Dateline. HOA edition. Karen stammered. This is highly irregular. Ruiz opened a folder. So is levying unapproved fees after a legal judgment. We reviewed your financial logs. That $125 recovery fee appears only on the plaintiff's account. Care to explain? Her voice cracked. It was an administrative error. Ruiz nodded. Good. You'll explain it in writing to the compliance office by Friday. And Ms. Hensley if we find evidence of retaliation. You could be personally liable under Civil Code 482. That carries fines up to $5,000. Karen's face went pale. Her husband shifted in his seat. I didn't need to say a word. By the end of the week, the assessment vanished from my account. 2 weeks after that, the HOA circulated an official statement. Due to administrative irregularities and personal stress, Ms. Hensley has resigned as HOA president effective immediately. Ben read it over breakfast and grinned. Guess I'm not the menace anymore, I laughed. Guess not. A month later, a check arrived, $2,500, plus court costs, sealed in a plain envelope. No note. I deposited it without ceremony. And just like that, peace returned to Willow Ridge. Kids rode their bikes again. Neighbors waved more. The new HOA president, a quiet accountant named Gina, reinstated community movie nights and dropped the nonsense rules about lawn color and basketball hoops. I still see Karen occasionally walking her dog on the other side of the street. We nod, polite but distant. The way you nod to a lesson learned the hard way. Because here's the thing, property rights aren't just about land. They're about respect, about knowing where your boundaries end and someone else's begin. And if you forget that, well, the law has a way of reminding you so. To every parent who's ever been told your kid's joy is a nuisance, remember this. Evidence beats arrogance every time. If you've dealt with an overreaching HOA, or a neighbor who thought they owned more than their lot line, drop your story in the comments. Let's make sure every Karen knows. Some of us keep receipts.